Hi, my name is Sarah Galla, and I'm a psychotherapist here at Illuminate Therapy and Wellness. I'm going to talk a little bit about emotional identification and affect scaling, and have some visuals on how we can explain this kind of for ourselves and also for kids that we work with and care about. First, emotional identification is important because when we can identify what we're feeling and connect it to that body sensation that we know, okay, I might get nervous when my heart is beating or when my stomach is tight, then we can be able to listen to our body to be able to get those cues from our environment, from our body, to be able to understand what we're feeling. And then when we know what we're feeling, it gives us a path to be able to figure out how to support ourselves and to be able to process and manage those feelings. Now, affect scaling deals with taking those emotions. Once we've identified what I'm feeling, we're going to be able to put a number to it or an amount, so we know how much of that feeling we have. And we know that when we're, say, from a 0 to 10, and that when we're at a 7 out of 10 on something, that, feeling worried that we're not going to be able to cope very well. That all these tools that we learn in therapy that we can be able to use when we are maybe at a 3. So to be able to understand the intensity of our feelings helps us be able to intervene, process, and manage. One way I like to show as a visual for both, adults and for children is using cups, so that, our feeling of anger, say, can exist on a kind of a spectrum here or a scale. So we can, feel that, oh, when mom tells me to pick up my shoes, I feel this much anger. But when my sister hits me, I'm here. So that we understand that, okay, if I'm starting to feel in this range, that I need to start using my coping skills. And now, while we're not talking exactly about coping skills right now, but, that's where we can grab some putty and really, squeeze kind of that tension and be able to calm our nervous system. We can use a breathing ball and be able to take a deep breath and calm ourselves down. So the idea is that once we're up here or here, it's different for everybody, that when we're at that level and we're past our window of tolerance and our ability to be able to manage our feelings anymore, that we're not going to be able to. So that the idea is that A, if we can identify what we're feeling, and B, we can also identify and scale, put a number, a level, a degree to how much of that feeling we have, then we know that, okay, here's what I can do when I am at each level. Even for positive things, someone's like, I went to a birthday party and I had so much fun. Oh, you had this much fun? That's awesome. Or, I saw a sad thing on TV, but it affected me as this much sad. But when this happens, I feel this much sad. So that adults and kids, that we're humans, we have emotions, and not to be scared by them, but to be able to identify them. And again, a lot of that fear and anxiety over our feelings and what to do with them, we see in big reactions, that can be reduced and decreased when there's a plan, when the person who's having those feelings feels in control and that they can do something about them. So again, identifying the emotions gives that tool of understanding ourselves and knowing, okay, hey, this is what I'm feeling. I know what I do when I have this feeling. And then that second layer is, where on the spectrum am I? Where is my scale? Am I at a 2? Am I at a 4? Oh gosh, you know what? I'm at an 8.5. So I'm going to have to step back and be able to do what I need to do to bring myself back down. Thanks for listening.